Jane is a magnet for narcissists. She is caring and has lots of empathy. And it's that empathy that works like a joystick that narcissists use to control her. She once worked for a narcissist boss that ran her ragged. Her most recent boyfriend, Nick, was also a narcissist. Hi, I'm Dr. Greg Hamlin. In this video, we are looking at the story of Jane to see how not to speak to a narcissist. I wonder if you can relate to the 5 stages of Jane's relationship with Nick. The first stage of Jane's relationship with Nick was fascination. Nick's confidence was striking. He told stories with wit and flair. He even had a seductive swagger. Jane is attracted to narcissists, like a moth to a flame. Narcissists make her feel useful, like she matters, until useful feels like used and exploited. Jane had always admired take-charge people because they always seemed so free from insecurities. Sometimes Jane would feel annoyed at the way Nick dominated conversations, but how refreshing to have a man who would actually talk to her. She liked the way Nick always knew what he wanted. Sure, he could be reckless at times, but his assertiveness made her bad boy fantasies dance in her head. Nick could be pushy, but Jane would tell herself, aren't the things he tells me to do for my own good? Once, when Nick wanted her to take the day off to go with him on a drive, he said to her, "You should take more time for yourself and enjoy life." Now, her former boss, the narcissist, would have never said things like that. Jane entered the commitment stage of her relationship with Nick when he lost his job and began playing the victim. She felt compassion. She began to do more for him. But it felt okay. He needed her. Jane gave above and beyond what Nick ever gave to her. I call this the OD bargain. Now, OD stands for over delivery. The OD bargain goes something like this. If I just give way more than I'm required, then the other person will see this and be moved to give back. If I over-deliver attention and kindness, then he will see me and respond. That is the OD bargain, and that is what kept them happy during the commitment stage. But Nick, being the narcissist that he is, kept expecting more and more from Jane. He got angry when she failed to please him. So this began a new stage of walking on eggshells. She coped with his anger by placating him and promising more, but this just gave Nick more leverage over her. She often said, "Please don't be mad, I'll try harder." She even started to believe Nick, who said it was her fault for making him angry. She started blaming herself for his anger, always apologizing. Eventually, she pleaded for understanding. "Can't you see how you're hurting me?" But Nick had no empathy to give, only gaslighting. Jane came to a critical juncture during this eggshells phase. Nick had not yet sucked all the energy out of her life, but Jane missed her opportunity to leave while she still had enough strength to pull it off. Instead, she stepped up her efforts to cater to Nick and go above and beyond. Jane eventually over-delivered herself into the burnout stage. The OD bargain was a burden, more like overdose rather than over-deliver. She was disillusioned, even despairing. She felt too beaten down to even stand up for herself. Yes, this was burnout, feeling small, tired, and stressed all the time. Jane was too exhausted to deal with his anger and her usual calm strength. She felt so used up. She was starting to believe the demeaning things that Nick said to her. She thought, maybe I do need him just to survive. While in burnout, Jane could not muster the strength to leave Nick. Compliance was easier. Jane's strength was at an all-time low. She was ground down by Nick's demands. Finally, Jane entered the escape stage. There was a pivotal moment that made her know that she had to get out. He demanded sex just minutes after berating her for over an hour. Despite her tired eyes, she could see that she had to find a way to get out. But the real change that gave her the strength to leave was when she found ways to reclaim parts of her own life. She began getting some of her needs met by reconnecting with friends. She learned more about narcissism and relationships. After several weeks fantasizing about escape, she gathered the strength to leave Nick with the help of friends. Free at last. But Jane's story didn't end well. She was profoundly wounded and cynical about any future relationships. So much damage done. She now carried the baggage of resentment, anger that Nick took her soul, and resentment toward herself for putting up with him for so long. Jane felt starved to receive things for herself, but too conflicted to know how to get her needs met. She was easily triggered by normal requests and became furious over little things. Why? Because she was hypersensitive to someone taking advantage of her. Understandably so. In the next video, we'll look at Lisa's story, a completely different story that illustrates how to speak to a narcissist. I will also tell you how you can get a copy of Jane's Moth to the Flame Matrix. This is a chart that analyzes Jane's story with key insights for quick reference. Just click on the link on your screen to hear Lisa's story of how to speak to a narcissist.